Cody.
Cool. Hello.
Thank you, brother.
Hey.
How are you? So first and
Good.
foremost,
Hey. Nice to see you.
let's go. So I'm really stoked that you're able to grace me with your time today, and you're able to share your experiences in your life. Because
Thank you.
the few times that I've talked to you, I've got a kick out of you. I think you're a good guy, and the people that we know in common have only said great things about you.
That's
so
good.
I'm really stoked about this. So thanks for coming on the show, dude.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, for me, too, I always seen. Okay, just a heads up, by the way. Full disclosure, I probably have a thick French accent, but but it's weird. I don't speak French at all. It's
Really?
actually, like, blows my mind.
Come on.
I don't know why. My last name is Piche, but
Yeah.
while I'm talking here, I have no idea how or what or when I picked this up.
Come
but,
on.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just living in Sudbury.
Interesting.
But
Jeez.
anyway, so that's kind of how this all started. Was we actually shout out to good buddy Rogan there.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, we were just kind of bumped in outside at the bar there on Halloween, and he said, "Hey, I always wanted to come on," and here we are. So shout out to you, buddy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So that being said, take us through kind of your experiences and your transition leaving post-secondary school to where we are now. Take us through that timeline, and then we can go through it full circle.
Perfect. Yeah, so, I mean, cool concept with the podcast, obviously, life after high school there. So, for me, for my story, basically, I grew up in Sudbury. I grew up in the flour mill here. I went to St. Ben's for high school, did the full 4 years there, all that. But, you know, like, you get to that grade 12 point where all your weekends are just partying, having fun, whatever. Hits your reality check, second semester, grade
Pretty
12.
quick. Pretty quick, dude.
And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So for me, what I did is I went into the trades to start.
Yeah.
So I went to Cambrian. I did electrical, which is kind of weird because every realtor I know that's a guy usually starts doing electrical. Like I can think of like 4 or 5 of us that same. So me right out of high school, I went right at 17 because I have a late birthday. So I jumped right into Cambrian, did the 3 years there. So I got my technologist electrical. And then I worked in the union down in Toronto, the electrical union. I was wiring high-rise condos.
Oh, wow.
Doing that for a bit. But I remember one day, and it hit me hard, I was kind of walking downtown, going to work. And in front of me, there was like my journeyman, the boss or whatever.
Yeah.
Electricians. They were walking. And then on the left, there was a group of guys wearing suits and AirPods and all that stuff. So it kind of hit me there. I was like, I feel like I fit in more with the business, suit and tie kind of look, not the trade style. So
Interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of where I made that switch because I kind of knew I wanted to get in sales. I didn't know if it was like car sales or phones or houses or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what happened. That summer off, when I quit the union, I came back up. Had an interview. Shout out to my boss, my former boss, Kathy at Remax there. So she kind of excited me and got me into the real estate game. And I never looked back since. So
Nice. Now, what was it? Was it just literally that one moment of you kind of compared where other people are and where you were probably going? Or was it more than that before? Like, were you kind of always hoping for a way out or like something?
For me, like the schooling to the actual trades, like completely different. Like the schooling's fun; it's all theory. You're like you're learning a bunch. You get to the real world, the theory is not as important. It's more or less, making a job done, right? But in the union in Toronto, it's a lot different because I mean they're just like the faster they get it done, the faster they're rented, the faster they get paid, right? So it was more like go quick. There was no more learning after that. It was just repetitive, like same job every day.
Instead of,
So in school it was cool. You're like, oh, new concept, new this. You learn about different machines, whatever. You start working, it's just you're getting paid to work, right? So for me, that was the switch. Also, too, seeing the older people and they had back pains and knee issues and things like that from being in the trades for so long. So I just said, well, I mean, in an office job in real estate, agents, they can work till they're dead pretty much, right? You can work till you're 90, 95, 100, whatever,
if you're
right?
taking care of yourself.
So there's no, like, demanding. That was kind of the big switch. I just said, okay, I could go down this road, and by the time I'm, like, 30, I'm going to start, like, being sore and this and that, or, I could switch into a nice office style and use my brain more and get paid that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was it the excitement of your old boss at Remax that was the driving force? Like, oh, this is real estate. Like, how did you go about deciding?
Well, that was the other process. So when I came back, I worked at Lot 88. So I
nice.
was
Favorite steakhouse.
Yeah, no, that's good, and they're local there. So for me, I kind of got into serving a bit and hosting and all that kind of stuff. So I got seeing how other people work in different professions. All the car salesmen come there and all that. So I'm starting to see people and sales and because for me, I didn't really think sales to begin with, but if anybody knows me, they know like I just never shut up. I just like to talk and talk and talk. So
this is perfect for you.
Yeah, perfect career. And that's kind of like she put the nail in the coffin, my old boss, to kind of like that was it. And I was like, hey, I'm like dead set doing it, but it was always planted in my head. I wanted to get in sales. I just didn't know like how to do it, but she was like the meeting to like finalize it.
Yeah, like she bridged that.
Oh yeah, she like motivated me to like get the schooling, get it done, get it going.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. I mean, for a career move there from trades to business, I have no complaints. Like I had both experiences. I live both lifestyles.
Interesting.
And, yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to pick what suits you. But that whole mindset of you have to chase a passion. And me, my passion's people. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love
connecting,
helping people. So with real estate, you're adding nice value. You're helping a young couple move into their first house. You're helping,
which is a big milestone for them.
Oh yeah,
right. It's
that's what
deal.
I mean. For me, when you make those calls to say like, yeah, our offer got accepted, or this and that. I love doing all that stuff.
Do you have one moment in particular, kind of jumping ahead, but we'll circle back, but do you have a moment in particular in your career, like a favorite moment that stood out from something like that, in regards to the giving back or making somebody's like, kind of dream come true?
I mean, like there was one set of clients that I had that like when COVID market was going on here, they had really low rates, so everything was like super competitive, extremely competitive. So I had a client that we would always lose by like $5,000 margin, like really good offers, but when you get competing offers, we'd always be like just second and not there. So I felt bad because you're shopping and they're eager and you feel like it is the one. But the one, that's what it was. It was like 4 or 5 times, and by the fifth one there. But the house that they actually bought, they're like kind of glad they lost on all those ones.
No
they're
way.
like.
They're very happy with the one they have.
That's what I mean, yeah. Like, your house is your house and all kind of plays out perfectly, but that was the call to hear their energy, like, hey guys, and they're like, what, we lost again? No, like, when's the party? When's the closing date party? Because I'm coming. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, we got the house? I'm like, yeah.
No!
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so
the best part. It's that when you get the energy of like their house is sold, or they got the accepted offer to buy it.
Deal went through.
Yeah, like just I get a rush off that, like the human reaction.
That's
and stuff.
awesome.
It's like a huge psychology element in sales. Like a lot of people don't notice, but like psychology is everything in sales, I find.
Yeah.
So,
kind of, we'll touch on that in a bit. But what I want to know, what is step one? Take me through the process of going from I'm interested in real estate to I'm a real estate agent now selling homes. Take me through kind of the step-by-step process, if you will. If somebody has no idea
like from
how to start in real estate.
Yeah. So like if you wanted
to... how can somebody go about it?
Yeah. No, for me, that was also the thing, because when you're in high school, no one mentions that path. It's either you go to college, you go to the trades, you go to university.
Reasons.
You know what I mean? But no one really explains like other jobs like real estate and stuff. So people DM me all the time. How did you do it? How do you become a realtor? Because they don't really teach that in high school, right?
Oh God, no.
They don't say this is how you do it and all that stuff.
They say apply to this program, and that program will teach you how to do this. They set you up for a rat race. Well, that's kind of the route I was going, right? Because you're in high school, and that's the only two options they say. You're either going to college, university, or you're working. One of the three. Right.
But they don't really say the sales side. They don't ever. So
for
which me,
is weird.
Yeah, I know. So for me, that's what I mean. There's a million jobs out there that I just got to think outside the box. So to get your license to start, I did my schooling through AREA, which was the old system.
Oh yeah.
Now it's through Humber College.
Yeah.
So they took over the program, but it's like kind of all self-taught. I don't know the specifics of the new schooling, but I do know it's like, I believe, on top of my head, I think 5 courses. So what it is you register for course 1, you do all these modules, and you kind of self-learn at your own pace. Like, it's not like you're in an actual like college at Humber College. You just host the program,
right?
So you'll pick up course 1, it's self-taught, you learn on your own pace, then you write an exam, you pass that, you go to the next course,
Oh, no kidding.
But the only thing after that, so you do all your courses there, you get your quote-unquote schooling done, At that point there, you have to pick which board you want to work for. So if you want to live in Sudbury, you want to live in Toronto, or whatever. So you have to work for a board first. So me, it's obviously the Sudbury Real Estate Board because I live in Sudbury. Then you have to pick like a brokerage you want to work for. Mm-hmm. So I chose Remax Crown, obviously, and I'm on the Kula team and everything like that. So,
Nice.
But that is the process. So you do that Humber College thing. I mean, if anybody is curious, you shoot me a DM at Cody Piche, a shameless plug, but I can help guide you that way. It's funny, I always get DMs in like you know, you see snippets on your lock screen.
Yeah, the first like 5
so
words.
So it says, hey, I'm really interested in real estate, but like, then it says ...
Yeah,
So I'm like, oh, like I'm excited. I'm like, oh, they're probably gonna buy a house. They're probably messaging me. But then I open it and it's like, how do you get your schooling? And
you're like, oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, more competition.
Yeah, let's go.
But honestly, that's the thing. Real estate's it's a big sandbox. There's a lot of agents. I think in Sudbury, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's close to 500 agents in Sudbury. So that's what I mean. It's a really competitive industry. You got to really get out there and do things. You know, like me coming on the podcast, and you're always trying to think on how to network, elevate, grow. That's kind of it, right? And not stopping. But that's what I see with new agents. They get licensed and that's it. They think clients come to them. Okay. But no, it's like dog eat dog. You go out there and survive.
Jeez. So now, what I'm curious about that, because I do want to know how you market yourself in a extremely what appears to be, and especially if you're on social media, everybody and their mom seemingly is a real estate agent, right?
Oh yeah.
Most of them are like, I don't see them like every like month. I'm like, oh, they have this house for sale. So I'm like, okay, I can understand if they're doing well or not, right? Based on kind of their presence, right? But how do you stand out in a crowded market or industry?
No, that's tough. So for me, like I started my career, like it's funny that so with my team you train and stuff. My first day like solo was literally the day lockdown started in 2020.
Come on,
like first day
stacked.
Like I'm like, oh, here we go. Let's start the real estate, the spring market. It was like March time, and then boom, like the news. They're like, we're shutting everything down for like 2 months. And so that's kind of the thing. You're sitting at home and you're like, hey, well, how I'm a new agent. Like, how do I put myself? So that kind of sparked the idea. I'm like, you know what? Why don't I use Instagram? And at the time, not many people were using like social media. It was the old traditional, put it up on MLS, get your showings and this and that. Because back then, we had to think strategically, how do we get showings? Because the government, we were on lockdown. You couldn't go view houses and stuff. I mean, we were we were essential, so you were able to go.
Which is interesting.
Like, to do the showings. Yeah. But, I mean, we're like, okay, how do we market the house easier? Oh, let's get into videos and all that kind of stuff. So for me to get promoted, I'm always on Instagram, always on Snapchat, all the social media apps I'm always using. For me, it's a free app. And it's free content that you can create, right?
Crazy good.
So, like today, prime example, I don't know if, I mean, this obviously is a podcast today, but I put up a story today about just a stupid thing. I'm at a restaurant and the wood knot, and I'm like, it's a polar bear or whatever. So out of that, I get engagement, right? I got like 6 or 7 people be like, oh no, it's a koala bear or whatever. But from there, you could spark a conversation and get clients. So for me to stand out, that is how I do it. It's just, I'm not the traditional like house, message me to buy, message. So I put a lot more like personal flair into it. Like I post my life.
Right.
And out of that, people feel comfortable and, you know, I'm relatable and all that. And then that way
biggest, most underrated thing ever. Because it's so hard, because the way you have to do it, and I ask this question knowing the answer, but when I ask how do you stand out, it's obviously be authentic, right? And like be yourself. It's easier to relate to people. That's why a lot of big videos I've seen on YouTube and stuff and big shows or like big stories that catch are things they're doing outside the box, because they're very specific to these people, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like when people talk to me like as a realtor, they already assume that all realtors know the craft, right? So then it's like they're a dime a dozen or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the way you stick out, is by putting your personability on Instagram and whatever, because then people joke around and they also have that, and they relate to you, right? And then from there, you know, they message you, they feel comfortable, and then you go ahead and you work with them.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, like Cody does this, or he goes and does that, and like, oh, this is what his interests are. It's like, well, I'm interested in that too, and then stuff like that. And then people see that, and it's funny you mention engagement, because I know people who know you and have told me about you but I'm sure you aren't sure about who they are. You're like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That happens all the time.
And I'm like, dude, that's awesome though, right?
It's
that's
funny
kind of the
too.
goal.
With my girlfriend there, like when we first started dating, I guess she like never like a real estate agent, right? So we go in public or whatever, and it happens all like I'm used to it. I'm used to it. People like if we go to the bar or we go out to dinner. That's what I mean. You get to a point where you just post the content out there. I have no idea the response. But behind the scenes, people are talking, sharing things and whatever. And then I go in public and they're like, oh, that's Cody Piche. That's the guy from Instagram or that's the video. That's all it is, right? So for me, it's
that's cool.
Just post, put it out there. And then hopefully people watch and engage and kind of go with it.
That's so sick. And there's a... dude, I've had like probably 3 or 4 times that I didn't know the person or I knew of, but like didn't follow them or don't really like... I don't... Well,
it's like you and me. Like
it blows makes my day so good. Dude, I feel so good.
Like prime example, I had no clue. Like I never knew you from the past, right? But
hole in the wall
through affiliation of social media,
Yeah.
and, I seen you interview other people I knew. Whenever I watch it, and then I'm like, oh, that'd be cool one day to get on there.
Yeah.
And then boom, we're at the.
It's like we're all just having a good time. Mutual friends, like, yo, what's up, dude?
Yeah. Oh, you're Cody Piche. Yeah. Oh, come on the podcast.
Yeah, let's do this up. Oh man, that's awesome. I think the thing that I found got me the most engagement was at the beginning of 2020 when the lockdown started, and this is kind of how I've steamrolled, not steamrolled, but snowballed into having a bunch of friends and new connections and new friends through the podcast. Is I just got this random idea one day of just posting like one joke a day, just like set up, punchline, right, 1, 2. I get like 30 people every day be like, yo, like they would just respond and laugh. I'm like, I didn't even remember this person like existed. Or they're like, oh my god. I'm like, I haven't talked to you since grade 11. Like, this is crazy. I didn't know you still follow me. So all this stuff is really interesting. And then the best one I got, dude, I swear, like not blowing smoke at all, like probably at least 130 responses on my Instagram, like, which is ridiculous. But this is what I did. So I was leaving a job site and I had Wi-Fi and I put up the joke of the day. So the joke was, hey, it was like 5:30, whatever, and leave a reno site, and I was like, hey, today marks 100 days sober, and then I posted that, and then just, black and white. So, and then I go to post the punchline, but the punchline failed to deliver because I go to post it, and it failed to upload. So, and then I leave the job site thinking, oh, the joke's up. I come back home, and like within the span of 25 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm like, it's like it had like 30 plus new messages on the thing, and I was like, what is going on? And then I had like cousins, aunts, uncles. I had like 13 friend requests that just all like, I'm like, what is going on? And then I looked and I'm like, oh no. So all people read are like, today marks 100 days sober. But the punchline is not in a row, just in total. Right? So that's hilarious. And the problem is nobody read that until I got home and it uploaded again. And then all those same people respond and be like, you're an asshole. I'm like, this is where we can go discuss it.
Oh yeah, that's the power of social media. Like everything,
insane.
Everything and anything I post is very methodical. Always looked over and this and that, because that's the thing. You post something and someone fails to upload. People might misinterpret things and whatever, but it just shows you the power of social media.
It's so cool, dude. Like you can connect to some interesting people. You get to understand who people are and relate to them. And do you have for the lack of a better term, content strategy that you use, or you just like?
I try. So every you get on the board, you start planning and whatever. But to be honest, I find if you put too much effort into thinking about it, you'll like psych yourself out. I find usually
it's almost not natural at that point.
That's what I mean. It feels like a chore, and you're like, oh, okay, I got to do shoots on this and that. So for me, I wake up and I'm like, you know what? Today I want to do an Insta picture. So let's find a thing and do that. So I usually like. The nice thing with me on the team, though, like all the extra behind the scenes footage and stuff, like listings and whatever, that's all taken care of with the team. So for me, my day and stuff is all focused on like, hey, what do I want to do today? And that's why I love the job, because to me it's not a job, it's like a passion. So I'm like, you know what, I'm passionate about a podcast today, let's go shoot one.
Nice.
Something like this. Or that's what I mean, it's like free range, you could do whatever. But
that's so cool.
That's my take on it. I don't think planning is always as important. I think it's just get out there and put it out there, right? Like the more content, eventually if you throw stuff on the wall, something's gonna stick, kind of idea. So for me, it's like whatever's in my head, you'll do it. And also confidence. I find that's a big thing with social media. People don't want to post TikToks. They don't want to this and that because they're afraid of the public reaction.
Yeah, which is real.
Oh, it's
like
huge.
It's fair.
It's
like,
but that's what kind of
fear.
separated me from the rest, right? Because I'm always out there. Like the one thing I can always remember, and I mean, I don't know if you want to clip this as a thing, but
I'll figure it out.
So
yeah,
for me, there's a big meme that I did a TikTok thing back when I first got TikTok. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to do anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot like 6 in a row here. But I was young and didn't really prep, so I wore a turtleneck. So I had a turtleneck on, and I did like 8 in a row of like the same turtleneck fit. So then this like running meme was like, oh, like you're the turtleneck realtor.
Amazing.
So if you see on my Insta, I posted something when the season changed to the fall, and I literally wore the same turtleneck, and I was like, oh, like fall season's back.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? So like just things like that. That's what I'm saying. Content that I didn't plan for, I just put out there. Something caught and
you're like making fun of yourself in a way too.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's a big thing. If
like you're not taking yourself too seriously.
That's a thing. I already kind of know what people will say. So I'll post content with no fear, and people always ask me like, how are you so confident and how are you so
how do you get over that?
Yeah, exactly. For me, the thing with that is you put it out there and just expect it to come, right? So if you just expect it, then you're not really afraid of it. You're like, it's bound to happen. I might as well do it, right? So, but then you get in a rut where then people can't now continue to complain. It's always that initial, like, put your feet in the water. They'll, like, bark back or, like, make a joke about the turtleneck TikTok or whatever. And then after that, they're just used to, like, you get in that, like, same thing with your podcast. When you first did it, it was probably like, what? He's doing podcasts?
Yeah, what are you doing? Like, why?
What a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. But now...
Like,
that's what I mean, but now here you are with consistency, and everybody's like wanting to come on.
I want to come on. I'm like,
that's what I mean. Like I actually was like pumped for this,
dude. Thanks, man.
Like
dude,
for real.
Dude,
like I was like, you know what?
Bro,
like everybody in Sudbury knows about it, and everybody's on it. But that's what I'm saying. At the start of it, people are probably like, oh, I don't want to be the guy to go on. I don't want to be on the spotlight. Yeah. But for me, it's like, get me on there and roll the camera and boom. Let's
Amazing, dude. Thanks, man. That means a lot. I really appreciate that, bro.
Buddy.
There's it's also used to be like a sea of awkwardness. So I'm basically inviting us to have an awkward conversation for an hour and a half. But now it's not the case. Now it's that's thankfully, right?
Podcast. I was saying that too when we first started. You were like the first on the trend. I find
100%.
Like now though, podcast this, podcast that, whatever. But like that's what I'm saying.
I listen to them, and I appreciate people who are creating, and I love that. But most of them aren't good, and I'm not saying mine is, but it is. But it's what it is it's better. Yeah. I look at it in a sense of I'll listen to episodes twice. Mm-hmm. If I like the guest, I'll listen to the show, and then I'll listen to it again to see how the host interviewed that person. Yeah. Right? To see, okay, so they had, I'll use a buddy of mine recently, like Michael Brovac. He's been on my show twice, but he's also been on like 7 other podcasts, right? And I asked them, because those are the people I like asking about, like Nina here, she's been on like 5 other shows, and she told me after, she's like, this was my favorite one to do. And I was like, okay, well, let's dive into why. So I went back and listened to 1 or 2 of the episodes after she gave me her 5 cents about it. And she said, what I gathered was just the questions were very like specific. Be like, so Cody, welcome to the show. Tell me about real estate. Why? How'd you get into it? Okay, that's cool. What's selling like? Okay, tell me about Steven. It's like, what is, like, there's no, it's like, let's get into it. Let's peel layers back, right? Let's find out, like, how you build. Yeah, it feels too stiff. And
too
like,
scripted.
Yeah, which is
the other thing, too.
What a podcast should be.
Well, right? Podcasts are meant to be fun and free. And
man.
What was your story? Why did you decide to start this? You're going to flip the script?
I love it. There's so many, I think, answers I could give, but I think I've met a lot of people through, whether it be traveling in different countries or whether it be like working with people who have done these cool things and done these really interesting experiences. And I really, every single time I be on these experiences or I meet people, and I'm sure you can relate to this, whether it be like friends or women where you're talking to them and you have this like, you end up talking for 5 hours and you're like, oh my God, I have so much energy after that conversation. I love that.
Well, me too. I feed on that.
That drives the show at the end of the day, because all these people who signed this table, I've had that with them, and it's nuts. Because I'm be like, man, like we start off just like, being friends, we're chatting, then like I dive into like why people, like how do you tick? Like why is this the thing? Like Cody, like what is the vision for, like, sorry, what is success to you in your career? Like what is that? right?
Yeah,
and then now I was like, well, I want to know, like, what is success to you in your career? Like, what does that look like in your form?
Yeah, exactly. So you started because that's what it is, right? So you found kind of something you like doing, passion, and then you turned it into a thing, right?
Yeah, and luckily it doesn't, like, the startup cost isn't really anything. If I already had half this stuff, and then, you know, a couple bucks here and there, and you're like, you know, to meet all these people, and everywhere you go, somebody be like, hey man, like, I either want to get on the show, have heard the show, liked your last episode, or you do a podcast, eh? Or like, why do you do a podcast? And then, like,
the same thing with me in real estate, right?
Yeah, dude.
So at the start, nobody knows your name, nobody knows who cares, right? But then as you get consistent, do it and whatever, that's all real estate is, right? It's consistency. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have good days and bad days. You know, in sales, more bad than good, to be honest. Because I mean, if everything was good, I'd have 500 sales a year, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like that. So
never.
That's the thing, though. It's just waking up, and if you actually enjoy it, then all that background noise means nothing. It's actually like, you know, it is what it is. It's good and bad, and overall, you're waking up happy, right? That's the main thing.
Yeah, man. Now, what I'm curious about, you talk about good and bad days. Tell me about tell me about the best day or the best sale you've made.
My best sale.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to go numbers. That'd be freaking cool if you did. But
yeah,
like best
my
sale,
highest
biggest
sale,
one. Yeah.
My highest sale in my career so far, I believe, was I'm not gonna get into the details of it, but my biggest one was 1.2 million, which was pretty cool for like being 25.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That's the other thing too.
That's cool.
For me, that was my best sale, but like price wise. Now I would say my best sale, like value wise, was selling. I was selling my parents' house, like my childhood home.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah. Like that was like
that's intense.
Oh yeah, that was like selling your childhood home and then helping your parents buy their next home. I've helped my sister buy a house. You know, all this stuff. So those are my best sales. Is like my close family, because like that's really the true test of like you see like your skills come to use. You know, like you're like, hey, well, my parents want to sell and move. But I have the value and the skill to like market it and get the offer and help them write their offer.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
That's cool to see
like
the transition of Christmas, for example. We're now doing it at our new house, but like it's kind of thanks to me to get it all organized and you know have everything all closed properly and all that stuff. So that's my best
cool,
day.
That's cool.
I think every sale I do, though, to be honest, has been fine. Like I don't think I look back on any sale I've ever done and was like, oh my god, that was horrible.
Yeah, that's good though. That's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, it happens in the business. I mean, it is what it is, but that's just human psychology, right? It's such a big thing with buying and selling anything, especially a house. House, the biggest purchase of your life.
Yeah.
And me, that was, if you want to talk about bad days, like, because I know I talk about a lot of goods, I say every day I wake up, like, if you look at me, if you're watching the video, I look like I'm like 18 years old, so... I always find in real estate, my heart, like I'm 3 years in, but anybody I meet, the first thing they think is like they think I'm like a young 18-year-old.
Yeah,
right?
You're like, no, man, I worked as an electrician.
But that's what I mean. I'm like, no, I've done all this and I've had all these sales and whatever. But
I didn't know. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's always I find my biggest downfall is always just the fight of like my look, the image, because I just come off young, right? So if you meet with an older seller, they're like, why do my biggest purchase, I've been here for 35 years. I don't want to list with a 22-year-old and a 3 whatever inexperienced kid kind of
looks
idea.
like puberty was a week ago, shit like that. Yeah,
that's always been my biggest
crutch, almost
drawback.
Chip on the shoulder.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think I'll ever tackle it because I feel like when I'm 40, I'm still gonna look like I'm 20. I hope.
Yeah, there are worse problems to have.
Right? No, that's the thing. But yeah, no, good and bad. That's it. Bad, obviously, you know, people no-show to appointments, they cancel. They tell you they're going to put an offer, they don't. You know, but it's a part of the job. It's a part of that sales.
So when it comes to like chip on the shoulder advice and stuff, and you being like confident in what you're doing despite like kind of the challenges you face, how do you like? What do you think is the biggest and most important skill to have that you've seen in your career so far as a real estate agent or anybody selling anything? What's the most important skill you think to have or to work on?
The most important skill I would think would be just having a drive.
Yeah.
Because like there's so many people, they come on the map, they'll go really hard and then they burn out.
Right.
And they'll go and they burn out but that's what I mean. For me, like I'm not the best agent and I'm not the worst agent, right? Kind of idea. No. But the thing is you don't have to be the best agent to make the most, right?
Right.
So for me, it's the best skill to have as a realtor is just waking up every day and trying, calling people and doing this and never giving up. Because the minute that you get in your head and you think it's an issue with this and that or whatever, it's all because they just stop putting that effort in, right?
Right.
The minute you stop putting the effort, you're not going to reap the sales and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's always been the thing. Like right now in the Canadian market, we're battling like the hugest shift in rates. Like they went from this extreme to that extreme, right?
Yeah.
So and prices too. How often in real estate in your life have you seen prices go down? Like never.
Yeah.
Even in 2008, Canada wasn't really affected as much as the States. I mean, I can't really speak much because I was only like 12 years old then.
Yeah.
But from my experience, I didn't see a huge factor like it is today, right?
Right.
So that's also another challenge. It's like, hey, every day you wake up, the government's hiking the rate. How do you stay motivated? How do you continue to work and keep driving and pushing, right? So that's just what it is. It's trying to block out all the background noise and just saying, look, I'm a real estate agent. I don't care what market or where we're working. I'm just gonna wake up and I'm just gonna put my nose to the grindstone and just work. So I find that's the biggest skill. That's what I'm saying. It's not being the best at marketing, and it's not having the best videos, and it's not having the biggest amount of lead generation source. It's the fact that every agent will be good as long as they put the work in and they don't give up, right?
Yeah.
The minute you kind of stop or slow down, and that's where it falls apart. So that's my approach on best skill.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any tips for anybody just selling, like on the skill of just selling itself? Like, do you have any...
I get all that all the time. Private sellers or whatever, they want to ask. They don't want to list for some reason, but they would still like to pick my brain apart on how to sell it. For me, the big push is like, it's funny. I mean, it is what it is. Most of those times,
I'll say it then. It's kind of lame.
Yeah. No, but the best thing for selling, to me, like for tips, I would say, for sure, making the house clean, because you got to think a buyer's going into the space. They need to feel comfortable. They need to feel like they're in their own like comfort zone, right? So think of the same house if you walked in and there's clothes on the floor and they have the leftover food and all that, right? You're immediately turned off, right?
100%.
Now you walk in that same space, clean floor, it's all mopped, it's all wiped down, everything. Like that's a big thing. Is cleanliness is number one. And number two, just kind of not having it like overcrowded with stuff, because you're really showcasing the house. So if you, for example, you have a showpiece in a room, right?
Yeah.
But say it takes up the whole space of like the room. Well, now I don't know if they're coming to buy the showpiece or they're coming to view the size of the room and like that thing. So I'd say the best thing is declutter is one of them.
Okay.
And just depersonalize too, because that's the other thing too. On showings all the time, you go into a house and like I'm a human, so I'm gonna look at like I look too, right? So, but you walk right in the living room and boom, there's a huge family portrait. You're not even really doing this because your client's like, oh, I went to school with and I went to work with him, right? So for selling, depersonalize it, like get all your family pictures off the walls and all that. Like just make it the actual house you're selling, not because then that way there it's more of a transaction than like distractions and stuff.
Interesting.
There's a whole methodical approach.
Yeah, I never would have thought of that.
I mean, the personal thing does help a lot. Like, you don't want to make it look like a new build robotic, but
like a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah,
like
but
a little bit. But
if you're going in and you have a whole wall portrait of your family, the whole showing the clients might be just focusing on that. Like, oh I wonder what he's up to, and I wonder why they're selling, and you know what I mean. So kind of for me, that's the biggest tips is just focus on that stuff.
So. Related to now, like, and how the market kind of is now, explain to me what a good initial like amount is to have to start with, like the bare minimum number.
Okay.
To buy. Let's say if it's like whatever the average, I can imagine it being like anywhere from like, let's call it 300 to like 5. Let's play with somewhere in there.
Yeah. So for me, like I would say, like, sorry to grab my phone, but
no, for sure.
For me, statistically, like prime example, I'll look at the October average, which is like right in that 3 to 5 number.
Perfect. Yeah.
So yeah, if we get to that, and I have a dad case with the magnetic thing. But so for me, like if you look at the statistics for the median sale, let me see. I don't know if we track. I'll go to SREB. See, that's also another thing. It's always good to follow because if you're looking for content and stuff, you know, I use content from it's like the board provides. It's like, I don't know why I try to create content when there's content already out there to grab and reshare kind of idea. So prime example, the housing statistics that the Sudbury Real Estate Board produces, they post it on their Instagram, and then I'll use it, or like the Coola teams or things like that. So
yeah.
Like, for example, the October average price.
Oh, that's perfect.
So this is good. That was only 3 weeks ago. The average price in Sudbury was, let's just say, $415 to be safe.
Yeah.
So to buy a house, if you're going to move into the house, it's 5% down. So if you're going to move in, like owner occupy it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're buying it for like a rental or whatever, then it's 20% down. But let's just say at $415, you know, at 5% down.
Now, when you say rental, or is that like commercial space rental, or is that like if you're buying a commercial space that's to be rented, or is that just residential as well? Okay, perfect.
This is residential. Commercial's a whole other beast.
Yeah.
I mean, there's real estate agents that like focus in that. That's more like per square foot dollar values and stuff,
sense.
and things like that. I mean, for me, I focus like residential, like I'd say 95%.
Yeah, primarily.
I've had some clients that, you know, hey, I want to open up barbershop this, or
Sick.
I want to open up a dog grooming thing.
Love
like that. Like questions like that. But for me, there's agents that specialize, so sometimes then I'll be like, hey, my friend is a little bit stronger in that aspect. I mean, I'm trying to dabble in, but that's the nice thing with real estate too. There's like a quadrillion amount of streams. You could like focus in just renting.
Yeah.
You could do commercial renting. You could do residential resale. You could do new builds. You could do vacant land. You can, you know what I mean? Like you could do mobile homes. There's like a million, but oh yeah, I didn't think of it all. When you think of the career, and like if you simplify it down, like in science, like you know how there's an atom, like it's the smallest thing. I mean, don't quote me on science here, but that's real estate too. Like it all simplifies down to buying and selling a transaction.
Yeah.
So you just have to think, okay, if somebody wants to buy a trailer, like a mobile home, okay, well then you can get paid on that. Somebody wants to rent an apartment, okay, well that's a transaction, you get paid on that too. So you're just trying to simplify, okay, how can an agent step in and like do the paperwork?
Yeah, how can you make this process easier for them?
Because everybody thinks realtor, they just automatically think just residential resale, your typical mom and dad house.
Kind of what
you know what
some
I mean?
people, I know, kind of what I usually assume. Like I know there's more to it.
I would say 95% of agents just work in that market, like like they list the house, they put it.
I guess there's a lot more homes than there is.
That's what I'm saying, and then there's a whole side of like commercial. Like I've seen listings at 4-point-something million, like that's the commercial side, and then you got businesses like you know Inco and Valet, or not Inco but Valet, they're buying it and things like that. But anyway, so back to the $415 money to save. If you do the math, so $415 the Ontario or the October average, you got to think too Sudbury. Plug if any investors are listening to this. Every other market outside of Sudbury, well, like I'm talking like down south wise, like anything below Barrie, they're all like almost double our price. Like the rest of Ontario is extremely expensive. So Sudbury is very cheap in comparison to the rest of the province. So I'm seeing that a lot too, where a lot of people are selling down in Toronto for $1.3 million. Coming up to Sudbury, buying a house 6 times the size for half the price, right? Yeah. And then they have like $500,000 in the bank. So back to this. So $415, the money for that at 5% down would be about $21,000. But that's just your down payment. Now I know finance people, they like to, like the banks like to see you have a float of like an extra 1.5% on top of that sometimes. Lawyer fees, like on average, like $2,000. An inspection could be like around $500, right? So I would say a good amount of cash to start. And you got to think though, the average price though, that's from like new build all the way down to like mobile home together and divided kind of idea. So like a first time buyer price range is like, let's just use 300,000. So like, because that's what I mean. Like your first house isn't going to be a new Sudbury 6-bedroom house, right? Like that's something you get like in your second or third house. So if you use 300,000 as like a median like starter house price at 5% down, $15,000. So I'd say like $20,000 comfortably. You could probably buy something.
Nice.
Now for financing too, there's usually 3 aspects. That's it. There's your employment. So if you work full time,
I can imagine that being.
So that's always so for financing to get a pre-approval, that's always the big thing. So if you can get your pre-approval done right, they look at employment, credit, and down payment. So down payment, obviously 5%, this and that we just talked about. Credit, they would look at like your total debt ratios. Like I don't want to get like too in depth with it all, but if you have all three that are good, like good job, good credit, good down, they formulate a number and then you start shopping, kind of idea. But yeah,
interesting.
Oh yeah, I told you I like to talk. So
yeah,
I feel like you haven't talked.
No, that's awesome. I don't like talking that much on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I will if I'm asked questions, but otherwise I'll ask my questions away. But
but that's the thing though. The money to me, the money is really important.
Yeah.
But I think the credit is more important buying, to be honest, because like if you can have. Well, I mean, maybe not too, because if you have bad credit and you have a lot of money, you can private lend or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. People think the traditional, like I need to have a good job, I need to have good credit, good down payment. Yeah. I mean, that's the traditional way, but there's all private lenders, there's all this and that. I think for me, like what if you go buy HSN tickets and you win 700,000, you know?
About this
you know what I mean? Like in Sudbury, I see people all the time like that I don't know, but young people or whatever. They buy the ticket and then boom, you're gifted like $700,000, like from the lottery or whatever. And go buy a house with that, you know, and then you can set yourself up for the next 25, 30 years, right? Like go buy a duplex and then use all the rest of the money to do something else and have fun and invest in whatever. But at least then you own an asset that's gonna make you money in the end run, right? Secure it down. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. There's a lot of little things like.
Oof.
I think the basics, I think, like you said, I like that number we'll use. I think majority, 95% or majority of people, like the higher majority of people think it is just through that. And the problem I find is when I talk to people who have houses or who have invested back in the, like 20 years ago, so, right? The older generation, the generation of people that you're like looking at, those journeymen, right? The journeyman and like that generation kind of gives... We give them a bad rep, but they give us one. Like their lead by example isn't that great. Yeah. Right? So it's tough for us to follow behind it when that's kind of the times are changing, the people are changing.
That's the thing, because back in the day,
it's all traditional though. That's what it seems. Right?
That's, I mean, like in the 90s, you like everybody back then, you move out by 18, you buy a house at 21 and whatever. But
and you're an adult with kids at 28.
That's the thing. That was the old lifestyle. But for me, like they always say that like right now and today where we're living, interest, like I don't know where it's exactly like sitting at. I'd say about 6% variable, somewhere around that, like an
average.
That's, I mean, it keeps like, but back then the interest rates were like 20%, right? Yeah, but the purchase price of the house was $100,000. Well, now they're $400,000, right? So for me, it's like the math of, would you rather be paying 20% on $100,000 or would you rather be paying 6% on $400,000, right? So that's kind of why they're like, I don't know why young people, they all live at home longer and da-da-da. Well, it's because it's impossible, like it's expensive.
Yeah, where are we getting that $100,000 from?
That's what I mean. So
yeah,
no, there's that's why I also like the real estate industry. It's because in traditional roles like medicine or whatever, with new technology and stuff, they're tweaking their skills, but I mean it's the same kind of process, right? If you're gonna fix something and put it back together, they might use like, I don't want to just sound ignorant on the whole fact of it, but they might, it's like the same kind of process, you know, like if you're putting air in your tire, there's no other way you could do it. It's just the same from 1950 to now. The housing market though, today to 1950, it's like it's always changing. It's so it's volatile. That's what it is. Right? It's like up and down. It's like the stock market.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot. There's a lot you can peel back. But what I'm curious about is kind of two things. One, first and foremost, would you recommend anybody to still, like with the way the market's being and the season and stuff, would you still recommend real estate as a good career for people like now? Like if someone's like right away in this kind of market?
Yeah, it's funny because when COVID... Like, hey, so that's the other thing. So when COVID first started, when I was saying it was like my first day, I theoretically was an agent from like the summer prior, but I was training with the team. So like with my team, they go through intensive training and they kind of like speed you up to have like the knowledge as like you worked for a few years. About like your job, your shadowing and stuff. So when I started, I feel like I was like one of the youngest to start. And then when COVID hit, there was like an influx. There was like 30 agents a year coming out. Like everybody's becoming an agent. Every day it was like new agent, new agent, new agent. But I still think it still is good to be an agent as long as you have the drive. Because people ask me, and they're like, well, what does it take to be a good agent? Da, 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 da. Everybody, I'm the same answer, same thing. I say, look, it's a good career for anybody at any point you want to start, no matter what market, as long as you like that lifestyle, right? Because like for me, sometimes you might go 4 months without getting paid. You might go, you know what I mean? Like depending on when closings are and things. So if you have that personality that you can handle the ebbs and flows of the market, you know, you might not get paid for 3 months, and then you might make a lot in 2 days, right? It just depends on how things go. But yeah, I would say it's still a good time to start as long as you are okay with the whole like swings of the whole market.
Yeah,
it's not meant for everybody though, because some people can't handle that stress. Like they get in it, and you know, when you get a mortgage, like for example, once you start getting a mortgage and you pay, like the banks don't care. Like that money has to come out on that day every month.
Oh yeah.
So if you're like, oh, I had a bad sales month, I didn't make any sales.
They're not
the
like,
bank's
oh, okay.
like, oh, okay, here's a grace for you.
Banks around the world.
That's what I'm saying. So if you like that peace of mind where you're like, hey, I work a 9 to 5, I get the same pay every second Friday, and you know, I have my life all like structured. Because for me, I have no clue what tomorrow brings.
Right.
Like I have no clue what the next day brings. So I would say it's a good career to start if you like that lifestyle, but that's kind of the thing.
So, with that being said, for you, and I know success is like a subjective term.
Yes.
But what is a milestone that you need to hit, or what is something you need to accomplish in order to feel like what's the bare minimum of like success for you?
Yeah, I struggle with that, man. Like I always find it's difficult to like figure out like where do you set yourself. Because like when you work a 9 to 5, well, 5 o'clock you're like, okay, I had a good day, you know. That's the thing with social media. Sometimes it could be kind of negative mindset, because if the first thing you wake up on your Instagram and another agent has a listing, right? You're like, oh, you feel bad. You're like, oh, I must not be being productive today, right?
Yeah.
So, or like it's a competitive thing, right? So
right.
You know, and then you go on it at lunchtime and that same agent has a second listing. And you're like, oh my God. So that's kind of the problem I find, is where do you set success? I struggle with that too, because I'm 25 and I'm like trying to be the best in town. Like I obviously, because I want to be the best. But then you're trying to compare yourself to people that have been in the industry for 25, 30 years, you know, and this and that. So for me, success, I benchmark it as like, if I go to bed at night and I can reflect on the day and I feel like I accomplished some sort of business relationship to like maybe a potential client.
So it's connection.
Yeah,
right?
it's all connection based. So if I'm like, oh yeah, I took a few phone calls and I got this guy set up on a system to send him listings, it's a good feeling knowing that might be a sale in 2 months or whatever, right? So that's kind of how I set success. It's based on a daily thing, not like it's really hard to like conceptualize.
Yeah, it is for sure. Well, it's different, right? And I almost wonder if like the term success can only be like related back to
that's the other
after we're done.
Yeah,
was it
for me though? A lot of people that I talk to and they say they're in sales. Like I talk to people that do car sales, or they work at like they do any sales. Yeah. But if it's not strictly commission based, like to me, I don't know if like it's like sales then, you know, like your term sales, but they're salaried, so they can go to bed knowing if they make no sales that they still get paid, right? So for me, it's like purely commission only. Yeah. So like I'm like sales. So like if you don't sell, you're not eating, or you're not paying your mortgage. So
a bit of desperation.
That's what I mean. So when for me, for the term sales, like if you're salaried plus commission, that's not like true sales. You are selling, but I mean you have a safety net like to back on. Like if you don't sell product, you tell your boss, oh,
it's not solely on you.
I sold nothing this month. Okay, well here's like half your pay on me. If I tell my boss, oh, I sold nothing, he's like, okay, we'll get back out there and do some calls. There's no way.
Why are you wasting time talking to me about it?
Yeah, there's no other way to make income that way.
Amazing. He's like, what are you having to do? That's awesome. That's real. That's some real shit right there. That's awesome. That
was the awakening moment. Like, you know, you're in real estate when, like, that's the thing, when you don't eat for, like, well, not eat, but when you don't get paid for a few months. Yeah. Like, that's sales, like, the struggle.
Yeah, dude. Jeez. Oh, so With that kind of being said, do you have like an overall vision for your like career? And how I'll explain this is how I've kind of been looking at my career and kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
I have like a list of things that I kind of want to go through and experience and learn. Because to me, it's like learn, get experience, get good, and then see what you can do with what you know now. Yeah. And then kind of, at least for me, that's how I connect the dots, is how I want to go about it. Just learn and kind of add more skills, and then like mess around in this, mess around in that, play around in here. Mm-hmm. Do you have a vision for your career? Or do you have in like, oh, once I have X amount, maybe I'll dip into this or that, or
like I've dabbled into it. So when I like, for me, I'm passionate about rentals and stuff. And flipping houses and whatever. So now this year I took on 2 projects. I have tenants in them and stuff. So like that's kind of like in real estate, then you can start doing side things to grow your overall goal. Because my goal is at one point is to live passively, like through rent and stuff, right? And then some days I wake up and I want to be an agent in LA. I want to go to Miami and be on those Netflix shows and stuff. So to say I know like my overall end goal, like I don't even know. Like that's kind of the thing. I wouldn't say I have like a true end goal yet. Yeah. It's just more or less
like things you want to do.
Yeah, build a good base, but I'm very sporadic. So
yeah, dude.
I wake up, I watch those Netflix shows there, Selling Sunset or whatever. I'm like, wow, that would be fun. Like I want to go work out there and stuff. But I mean, overall at the end, my end goal is just to help as much people out, help as much families out, and that's kind of what I got into the career for. It wasn't really the money aspect, because a lot of agents, well, not a lot, but once you hear how much money they make and whatever, they want to do it because for me it's more background noise. It's more how do I help people and feel like rewarding, because I bump into these people. I go to Wolves games, I go to the grocery store, whatever, I see them and they're with their kids or whatever, and their kids that you did the showings are babies. Well, now they're in my career they're like 3-4 years old, right? So you're like, oh my god, I remember.
Yeah, look up. So
that's what drives me, is that. And then my overall vision at the end of it is to have like a huge party, have all my past clients there, and like just everybody like together.
That's cool.
How much people are out,
But you can't do that if you're in it for like money. Money's a poor driving force, dude.
It's tough. Like it's I mean, everybody
there. We all want it, right?
Yeah,
we all want a surplus of it, but
everybody works for it, and that's kind of the reason why it's
called to be driven.
It's called work, because you're exchanging your time for money. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But if you think of like any job, it all kind of comes back to sales, anyways, too. Yeah. Like if you go to, you go to visit chiropractor, you go for initial consultation, they would ever do your thing, but now they're pitching you on a program to go on a 10-week course and this and that. So that's, I'm like, sure, it's medical, but now it's a sales thing, right? So every single field of work, the eye doctor, obviously, 2-for-1 special on glasses. There's always like a sale in every single profession I could think of, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's how the world is. It used to be based on trading things, and now it's based on a monetary exchange.
Interesting.
No, that's kind of my deep thoughts at night.
Like it comes down to transactions, right? Yeah. Everything, like what can I get out of this, or what can I get? But it's not so much a kind of like strategic or structured approach, because I think having those, it's all about intent, right? Like, I'm doing this for the greater good of what? Oh, for this, or I want to help people, I want to do this. But that's like it all comes together.
That's,
right?
to get back at your overall vision, I do want to have like different streams. Like I want to have like real estate going. Yeah. I want to start getting into like building and like building up projects, and maybe building new builds and rentals and whatever. And then I want to have like a division that's like strictly for like property managing rentals and my rentals and things like that. So that's kind of the big scale is start with real estate, master it, do it for a few years. Okay, well now tackle the building, now tackle the and then just having like a couple pillars of like things that you're responsible for, and like kind of growing it. Really cool. But it's so hard to conceptualize at 25.
It is, right? Because dude, you have to remember to be patient, right? Like patience is the biggest thing, because I struggle with that as well, because I'm like,
me too. Well, we live in, that's our society though. And again, it's not
everybody's
really
doing this.
It's not our blame, because I'll for example, if I shoot content this was a big thing for me. I used to focus on like the quality of my content, and like I used to stress about, okay, this has to be shot like this, and we got to redo that shoot and whatever.
Didn't have enough angles, not
but
enough
then
lighting.
If you think of it though, your airtime on Instagram or whatever, your algorithm, it's only, people are only going to see it for that 5-hour window that it's on their feed, right? And then tomorrow it's everybody else's new stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more, I switched. It's like, okay, less, because I know you were asking earlier if I have like a method to my thing.
Content.
And that's kind of now my new approach. It's like, just do as much as you can and not put as much effort. I mean, obviously still got to put effort, but just put more out, because that way there you're more on people's feeds and people's algorithms.
Especially with Instagram, because it is like what's now.
What's your take? You think, what's the future? YouTube? What do you think?
Yeah.
You think that's the big
100%. I think YouTube, LinkedIn. It's weird talking about this kind of stuff for me, because it's all just recycled from like Gary Vee and stuff like that. So
but it's funny though.
Like he's always on it.
Right.
He's always on it.
Right.
But
and it's like, it's funny. You'll see it.
Like
that's what
how
I mean.
it is.
It's like 2 years ago he was talking about TikTok, and everybody. I literally remember my nephew being on TikTok. At the time it was called like Songify or so, I don't know, but like he was on TikTok, and I'm like, what is this? It's like for kids, right? And now you look at today, every single person has TikTok. Everybody. My girlfriend at home, TikTok. It's like, I didn't think 2 years ago that's where we would be today. But that's kind of where like YouTube now is doing a big push to stay relevant.
Shorts are huge. That's why I think YouTube is, how I've looked at it. I spend a lot of time thinking about this. When it comes to long form, I'm trying to get, it's bite-size question and answers, like hot take question and answers about relevant things that you can like package up and redistribute in a short form way, but have the long form available, because if you're on a 4-hour car ride, you're not listening to 7,000 YouTube shorts. Or you're not watching 57 TikToks. I'm listening to a 3-hour conversation about like, yeah, man, you need that, right? Yeah. There's times and place for different things, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed, and like why I'm like, YouTube. I'm like, dude, that's literally it. Because how many other podcasts? Some like, when it comes to audio for podcasts, I'm like, put it out there, cool. Don't care to share it. But YouTube, I'm like, watch this, like watch them. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, they'll find it on Spotify and stuff. They'll find it, but they're only going to find it if they're ready in a situation to live for 4 hours just doing one thing, like driving or something, right? So.
Yeah. The evolution of attention, like that's the biggest concept that we're living with. And that all sprouted to like, I don't even know, I guess in the 50s when TV and stuff first came out, and okay, people's attention went away from their family to the TV and then entertainment or whatever, but the whole entertainment industry with attention, because I remember when Vine came out, but I have no idea why the app didn't go the whole way, but
I can't remember.
Again, it was a 7-second clip, you watch it, you scroll. Now that's TikTok. TikTok is the same thing now, but that's what it is. It's
full circle.
It's a full evolution of content.
What I've noticed, I think you'll get a kick out of this. A couple of weeks ago, I went to New York State, like upstate New York, to like Lake Placid, and we were camping there. Yeah. And this is when we went to climb the Adirondacks. We did a couple mountains there over the weekend, and each night we camped, right? But our site was like, we drove like 10 minutes out of the town down this road, and then we backpacked in, and we camped there. So my buddy is like in his mid-40s, and he's got a bunch of kids, so like he's sleeping at like 8. So he had data on his phone, and he would let me plug into it. But then when he goes to sleep around 8:30, I'm like wide awake still. I'm like, I got 2 hours. I have no service because I'm in the States. I have no internet because he shut his off. And why would he leave his on? It's so he could talk to his kids, not for me to scroll Instagram. So anyway, so all that shit's shut off, and I'm like, well, what do I do? I had a book, and I just remember grabbing it, and from like 8:30 to like 10 o'clock every night, I read like a chunk of it, like 7-8 chapters, or like hundreds of pages, and I was like so invested in what I was reading. I'm like remembering pages after pages I can recite. I'm like stories that I've read in the book. Wow. I'm listening to, and I can repeat back like almost verbatim these stories that I read like 3 weeks ago, a month ago. I'm like, how does that happen? But then I get out to like use the bathroom or whatever, I look up, and I'm like, I can't see my hand in front of my face. It's so dark. There's no street lights, there's no ambient light, there's no nothing. And just being in that space of very, very disconnected, but connected at the same time.
Connected to reality, yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a very, very weird experience for me. So it had been a while since I had that, or something like even close to that.
Oh yeah,
because
I struggle with that too.
It's tough because I'm like, oh man, you should read this book. You should check this out. I'm like 3 pages in. I'm like
bored. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then it's tough, right?
Look at this invention, the iPhone itself. Sorry about the dad case again, but the iPhone itself, like,
I love it, dude. It's okay.
This revolutionized the entire world. Like, it evolved.
It's insane.
Because if you look at any career pre-iPhones, like real estate, prime example. Like, you used to go meet with a realtor. You'd sit like this. You'd have a book. You'd look at listings on a paper, and you'd be like, okay, let's pick our top 3 in this book, this catalog. We'll go set up a showing. We'll go look and negotiate, right? Now with the iPhone, it's like, okay, hop on Facebook. Okay, buy a house and message the agent. Go ahead. They could do a FaceTime viewing. You could do.
You don't actually ever meet the person.
Never.
Like the person.
But like that's a big concept that I personally like to talk about. Like I know it's a podcast setting, but for me, I think if you ask the question like what changed society and what changed the world, I think it's the moment that the iPhone was just smartphones in general, but just anything, Samsung,
the ability to be connected.
The ability to have a computer in your phone, it's unbelievable. Because now, like, think of it. If you imagine if out of nowhere you woke up and your phone was just vanished. Like, what do? You have to get everybody's contacts. You're like useless to society.
It's a process, dude.
You know what I mean? Like, if you lose a phone, it's like me. If I lose my phone, it feels like I lost my hand. Like, it's so attached.
What would you do? You'd have
my
to
body.
Remember phone numbers.
Well, even as a real estate agent, I'm like useless at that point. Like, if I didn't have a phone and I couldn't call a photographer and I couldn't call a cleaner. And coordinate and organize things.
Are you going to email these people?
That's what I mean, right? So, but even the email, where do I email? I email on my phone, right? So at all times, I'm driving to do something. I call somebody to book things and whatever. So I find that was like the switch of like society and attention and how you are with family and stuff. Because like, for example, how many times you hear stories you go home with your spouse all night, you're just sides of the bed on your phones.
Often,
you know what I mean? And then like you put your phone away for a minute.
I'm so against it. Like I was like, hey, put our phones away. It's 10 o'clock. Phone away. What do you? I don't care. Put your phone away. We'll watch TV together. Fine. But phone away.
But even that TV, you're not really like engaging with each other. You're just both watching something. Like you are engaging.
I think it's better than both being on your phone because you're focused on one thing versus we're living our separate lives. It's like, well, we're laughing together. Right.
That's I mean, it's not like the old school. You're sitting at a dinner table and exchanging, talking.
I've done this, and I'm sure you've heard about this, and I don't know if you've done this either, but all phones in the middle, first one to grab it pays.
Yeah. I want to do that.
And you tell the server that too.
You know what? I feel like a nasty prank would happen though. Like it would a client, somebody would like edit a contact to like a client's name, and they'd be calling me, and I'd be like, it's like, no, I don't want to lose the sale. Like. But yeah, no, amazing. We're getting way off. You're going crazy.
Dude, no,
do you have any more?
It's kind of what I
real estate.
I would like to take it.
Yeah, that's crazy. You were right because you were telling me he's prepping me for the podcast. He's like, in my mind coming in here, I thought it was just gonna be real estate. But now here we are talking about like iPhones and families, and that's why I like podcasts, man.
I awesome. Love it for this reason because if it,
you know what it does though, it breaks off that I'm a realtor thing, and it takes you down to like how the people feel. Like,
to be honest, that's a small chunk of you and who you are and what you do. Yeah. And at the end of the day, to be honest, like when it comes to like accomplishments, and I think this is something that I've been very fortunate as just when it comes to like starstruck or like talking to certain people, I'm like, it's more cool for other people than it is for me because I don't care your accomplishments and how much money you make or how much fame you have or how many numbers you have next to your name on Instagram. That's all cool for you, but it's like your accomplishments. I was explaining this to somebody a while ago too. I was like, all your accomplishments remain with you. Some people are like, oh, what was it like swimming at Olympic trials? Like, what was it like winning like Olympic gold medals? And it's like, I'll be honest, I don't care. Right? I want to know what you did when you were 11 that set you up to do this for the rest of your life. Like, talk to me about that. Like, talk to me about your strategies. Like, you saying, oh, I feel great because I have an Olympic gold medal on my neck, that doesn't help me, and it doesn't help the person watching.
But think of that,
right?
For example, Usain Bolt. Like, that's a good point you touched on. Usain Bolt, everybody remembers that run he did.
Yeah.
The I don't know what record, the number, I think it was like 9.4.
Yeah, it was like...
ran a 100-meter.
Yeah, he like smashed the world record. But it was back in the day.
That video was 10 seconds long. He ran under 10 seconds, and he broke a world record. But think how much preparation went to that 10 seconds.
Like years, like 4 years, 5 years, decades.
Like his whole life,
like,
meal preps, training. But that's what I'm saying. Most people's lives, you have your big moments like that, like you're saying, but they don't see the 98% like of the iceberg that got to that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. And like I look back at, I'll use we're talking about best podcasts. I'll look back, and when I hear hosts go on other shows, and they're like, man, like what made you get into this? Or like, when did you start? And they're like, oh, when I was like 11, I was filming like videos, and I was like being like a journalist to my friends, and I was like going to things talking, or like I would do play-by-play announcing. I'm like, oh, so you had time behind the microphone speaking in front of other people, right? So you were able to develop that skill, right? It was like, oh, I spent time talking or learning about this and that. So this overnight thing or this, it's consistent. Like you had people around you that helped you and stuff.
Me in real estate, I post all my listings that I have and clients that I sold, but I'm not posting the 98% of the listings I lost and the clients that bought private behind my back, or you know what I mean. There's so much in the business that's
brutal.
I don't publicize that you have to take care of. But that's what I mean. On Instagram, it's always prime and pampered. You're getting the best quality cut, you know.
What we'll do after this, and I'll show you if you have time. And I'm not going to give away the name now because I don't want to help, I think, everybody. But I think everybody in real estate or just in content creating to begin with, I think this guy's a good example. But I'll tell you after the show. But I think when it comes to being yourself, I found I get more views or more engagement or more likes and stuff. Just more engagement in general, right? From just me. Like, I'll just be like, you know what, I'm not going to plan a podcast this week. I'm just going to talk in front of the camera about these two things that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And more often than not, that hits. And I'm like, how is this? Like, what's going on? Oh, people can relate to it, right? They see a 25-minute video. I'm just talking to the camera. Yeah. And I'm like, how is this getting likes on this video on YouTube? But the last podcast was like a couple views in this. Yeah. But there's a lot of downloads. So I'm like, okay, well, why? And it's trying to understand how those analytics play a big part in the overall, like, reason for...
You know what I do a lot now, actually? So, my strategy now... I don't know if I should reveal it, but I'm going to say it anyways, because we'll see how many people listen the whole way through. So for me, my content used to be very real estate. Mm-hmm. Now I just post every day on random, like the other day I had snow trails, tracking in my driveway. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, what animal is this? And people are like, oh, it's a bunny, it's a deer, all I did was literally walk out my door, and I'm like, oh, this would be something to shoot content. So I take a picture, put the little thing of like, what animal is this?
Ask a question.
Or the polar bear one. I'm like, what? Or the World Cup. I post, who do you think will win?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Like, who's and then you get a post going. But people now, before they even open my story, they get like excited. They're like, oh, like this is something I can like debate on or like respond to.
Or like, oh, we know his jokes. Or like, oh, it's Glenn's posting on a story. I bet you it's a joke. What's the new joke? You know? And it's like, oh, I hate you.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no, you don't. You think it's funny.
Let's spitball me some real estate questions. Let's see.
So,
what do you got?
I've asked a bunch, but I think when it comes to the confusing part that a lot of people have is it feels so like there might be... trying to word this correctly, okay, bear with me. I think when it comes to people in the selling world, I think there is a disconnect where we can't relate to it because there's a stigma around people who are working in commission-based forms of employment, right? So when it comes to commission-based and taking it like seriously enough where like, how do you maintain, that's what I'm asking is, how do you maintain being driven for the clients even though your whole livelihood relies on making money? How do you leave money out of the equation?
In your processes?
Yeah.
Why you...
How do you leave it out? Because it is important, like you're saying, we do want to have it, but that is the reason, right? Like you need to make sales.
Yeah. So like some scenarios... yeah, that's a loaded question. Like for me, obviously, I need to eat and provide. So some don't really care what their clients buy or do. But then you hear of they'll make the sale, they'll make the short-term money,
Yeah, that's
But now that's a client that you're only going to sell once in your life, because what they're going to do is now for the next 5-10 years of their lives, all they're going to do is talk about the bad experience and that. Like, sure, short term you made a check on it, but that now client will come to me for being honest and respectful, right?
Yeah,
so
interesting.
That's kind of an aspect you could do, because some strategies, like Sudbury's really good. We're fortunate that a lot of agents here, they're very, but you hear stories in down south in Toronto, in the rat race, there's like over 100,000 agents. So what they do there is they don't really care what their clients buy and what they do, and they just want that check, right? So they might just pigeonhole them. Oh yeah, it's a good buy. It's a good area. It's a good, like, if, prime example. This weekend I did a showing, like real downtown, and the guy was from Toronto, and he said to me, "Well, is this a good area? Like, would you recommend? Like, is this like we're okay here?" Now, I was honest. I was like, "Look, it's not obviously the best neighborhood. Like, I mean, but I said it is what it is, right? Like, it's a good neighborhood. I grew up here. I grew up in the flour mill. I had no issues, but that's with real estate. I could have said, "Oh yeah, it's the best thing.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It's
yeah,
great
you'll
area,"
love it.
and make the sale and be done with it. But then the problem with that, short term, I make a commission, like I make whatever.
If anything happens.
But the problem is then that guy's gonna go on Facebook and say, "Yeah, this realtor told me a good area, da da da," and then boom,
everybody's gonna roast and be
tarnish,
like,
right?
Knows nothing.
Or for example, now that guy knows 10 other people, right? Maybe they're all buying. So now all he's gonna say is, "No, don't use Cody. Don't he screwed me." Da 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 da.
That puts a bad rep on not just you, the team, and then it's
the biggest thing with real estate is the short sales are nice money and you can make a lot of sales, but that'll only work for a year or so before the talk of the town knows that you're just saying whatever to make sales, right? So
so it's all like big picture.
Big picture thing. Well, I've had now clients, because I have a short-lived career, but I've already seen repeat clients. I've had people buy.
Come on, dude. Nice,
man.
good for you.
Yeah,
That's fucking awesome.
I've seen people, like, they buy their house with their kids and stuff, like their family home, and now they're entering into buying a second property, like a rental.
Nice.
So now all those people, but that comes with follow-ups and sending Christmas cards and Thanksgiving cards.
Yeah, and keep that connection and invite them to, like...
That's the bigger picture, right? So I went through that growing pain with them where, like, they wanted to buy a house and I was blunt. I'm like, I don't know, like, you guys should wait it out. And I'm like, I don't think you want to deal with this issue and whatever. And sure, they're mad short-term. And, like, I'm mad at myself because I just shorted myself out of easy money. But long-term, they made the right decision. They bought the better house.
It's trust, right?
They're going to, exactly. It's all trust in real estate, because then they're going to come back to you and work with you. You know what I mean? That's the bigger picture.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of keeping that bigger picture in mind.
I mean, you could be the brand of your model where it's just sell everything quick and fast and get out of the business and then invest in something else, I guess. But your reputation of your name follows you.
Right, so the next thing you do, it's like,
so if you start another business, they're going to be like, well, if you're all like that in that business, what's any different? So for me, that is...
probably no different.
That is the hard part with the commission aspect. It's like, okay, do I lie to buddy and tell him done it, like, the downtown area is amazing and it's perfect?
It's booming. There's a lot of things to do.
Or do I be honest and say, look, it's not the best area. I mean, if you're okay with it, then sure, we can go ahead and buy it. But I'm representing you. I got to be honest, and I don't want to just make a quick sale here. Nice. I want to make sure you call me back on the honesty, right? So
interesting.
Oh yeah, that's a big aspect.
That's cool to hear.
Oh yeah,
I like that. What's something that you've seen home buyers do that you've kind of advised against that they've done anyway? And it kind of backfired. Like, what are some big problems you've seen?
Yeah, like, for example, I don't know, like, say in the last 2 years, a lot of houses were sold without conditions. So people were skipping out on inspections or whatever, right? I mean, it is what it is, because that's how competitive the market was, the government created. But, like that example, you're advising them, look, you should get an inspection. The only issue is the deadline for offers is tomorrow. I don't know if you can get an inspection in that time frame. And then you leave the decision with them, right? Like, if you want the inspection, you can put in your offer, but you're not gonna have a good chance of getting a house. But I mean, my recommendation obviously is to wait it out, get the inspection, right? So that was another good strategic thing for me with COVID. Like, as a realtor, that's where your mind is. You're always thinking, how do I help my clients? How do I do the best for them? So for prime example, a house gets listed on the Monday and they're reviewing offers by Friday, and your client messages you Wednesday night to go view it. you're like, okay, well, now I only have 2 days to do everything. And so I prep all my clients. I'm like, look, if you see a listing that you like, let me know the day of. We can go there before the Friday with the offers are due. We can go with an inspector on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
He can look at it before, give you a stamp of approval. Then you could go with your offer. It's like doing your homework, like prior, right? Because that's what it takes to be a good agent. You got to think strategically. It's like, okay, if offers are due Friday, how do I prep to have the best offer possible?
Yeah.
Well, let's do all our conditions. Get the home insurance quote, get all that stuff before we put in our offer. I mean, the market's completely different now. But that's the other thing, too. Every day you're re-strategizing, you're rethinking how to have the best opportunity to help your clients out and whatever.
Yeah.
Because now we're back into like a balanced market kind of idea. I mean, I wouldn't say we're there yet. It's kind of hard to tell what market we're in because some listings I'll see, they get no action. Some I'll see in my head, I'm like, it's a little high on price, and then they get competing offers. Yeah. So we're living in a really
weird time,
weird world time with these rates. But the only way we'll know, like, you have to look back in the past, right?
Right.
So at the time, all these people that bought up until the rate hike, everybody thought they were doing a good investment. And now everybody, all those same people, are now saying, oh, I should have held off to buy or whatever, right? So that's the thing with real estate. It's like, there's no true answer on if you did good or bad kind of idea. You can only tell by looking in the past after a year, you know? Like in the moment,
there's no immediate feedback,
That's what I mean. In the moment, you're like, oh, this is a good thing. But that's, like, you're asking with the clients, how do I help get things prepped and whatever?
Yeah.
That's my take on it, is basically,
Interesting. Do you have, to kind of last like one or two questions, you have to kind of wrap it all up, the best piece of advice that you've ever received that has also stood the test of time?
I work with Stephen Kula himself. Like, he is like the godfather of real estate. Like, he's been there since I was like literally like in diapers. Like, he's been, our team is over 20 years.
Good for him. Good for you guys, man.
No,
that's
shout
awesome.
Shout out to him.
Yeah,
for
please. That's
being,
cool.
The OG on the scene. Because, I mean, that's what I mean. So, for me, like, there's a million things he's told me and kind of stuck with me and things like that. One of them is obviously speed to lead. That's very important in business.
Speed to lead?
Speed to lead. So, if somebody's inquiring about a listing or whatever, you have, like, the faster you get to it, the better it is. Because if you're like, oh, prime example, you'll get a message at 6 o'clock at night, you're now winding down with your partner, you're like, oh, I'm tired or whatever.
You might not answer till the next day.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you're like, oh, I'll call them tomorrow at lunch, by the time you call them, they might be like, oh yeah, another agent got a hold of me last night, and you know. So that's a piece that's always stuck with me with business, is if business is calling to you. Oh, another one too, shout out to my dad, make hay while the sun shines. So
make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, so what that means is basically, if somebody's asking you about real estate and they're like, hey, I want to go view it and whatever, you might then, if you push it off to your own life, they might change their mind or whatever, right? Yeah, so you might miss opportunities, or maybe they'll message another agent or whatever. Because that's the thing with Instagram; it's so easy. People can message me and then 2 minutes later go message Tristan, or something like that, right? Because I mean, they're like, oh, he's on Instagram too, and this and that. But then, for example, now if, like, just to shout him out, Tristan, say if he's ahead of me responding, now I get back to them on the next day. Oh, sorry, I already viewed it. It's all good. Like, I'm taken care of, right? So that's always been a piece that stuck with me, is like, in business, it's just the faster the better. Like, you want to be on it like that, because if you don't, they'll find somebody else to answer, right?
Everybody always does too.
Well, it's the same thing with social media. Yeah. Everything's immediate now. Like, I want an answer now. So if someone has to wait,
we have the access to it.
They're gonna go look somewhere else, right?
So everybody better be like, I can find out any answer to any question. What's the world's smallest planet? I'm like,
well, think in my head, if I wanted to get on a podcast, like, say if I was like, if we didn't have this connection, if I was like, man, I really want to get on a podcast. So say I DM you, but you get back to me a little late, I might DM 3 people all at the same time. Hey, I want to get on a podcast. Hey, I want to get on a podcast. Hey, now, whatever one responds first, that's the one I'm going on, right?
Yeah,
so that's kind of my mindset with business too. It's like, if someone's DMing me, I'm not gonna, like, everybody in my life knows, family, friends, girlfriend, everything. They're like,
it's priority.
Work first, because if you don't, someone else will do it, right? It's kind of the you gotta be there and gotta be quick on it, because you don't want to drop any opportunities, right?
No, you're not wrong. I love those.
Oh yeah.
Amazing speed, eh?
I'm gonna become a hay farmer now.
Amazing. Make hay while the sun shines. I love it. Shout out to them both.
But that's also a good mindset, because when COVID was going on, the market was booming, right?
Booming, yeah.
So I was making sales here and there, and one month I did 9 sales in the month, and I was agent of the month. Now it's the opposite, right? Because now the interest rates are high, people are shy, and this and that. I do kind of want to mention to that. If you're ever curious about real estate and questions and stuff, just DM me, like message me, because I find with the media, like if you listen to mainstream media, all media sources are all on the same page. They're always like, oh, the market's crashing, like
nobody conflicts.
They're not lying, but the thing is that they don't see the opportunities. They're just posting negative. For me, it's like, okay, all those people that waited to buy, well, right now everything's on sale. Like pretty much the same. Like the market went down X amount of money. So for me, it's like this is the time to buy, because the prices are so low. You're getting the same house last year that was worth 400 is now worth 300. Jeez. You're saving yourself 100 grand on a mortgage you got to pay, right? So that's what I mean. So for me, if media, because every person I talk to now is like, well, I'm not buying the marketing, like all CBC and all that, saying it's a horrible time to buy. It's like, well, why is it? Like, do you have any logic to it? No, well, I just seen the thing pop up on my Facebook, so I believe it. Well, if you dig into it and learn, like, sure, the payments are higher for now, but they might lower the rates next year. So then, that's what I mean. So today, right now,
maybe right this moment, it's not ideal.
So that's what I'm saying. Right now, it's not. But another good thing that sucks with me too, and with another quote: when everybody's going this way, you should be the one going that way.
Right.
So when COVID was going on and everybody was buying, and 95% of people were buying, the 5% that was like, I'm not buying now. Now they're the ones that should take advantage of this market, because now the prices are like they're down, right?
Yeah.
So sure, the payment is higher, but that's only for a couple years, maybe, if that, until they fix the rates again, right? So that's always message me if you want advice, because I give value, and when I give value, that leads to business opportunities, and business opportunities leads to me getting paid and this and that, right?
So with that being said, do you have any last words of wisdom you want to share, that or lessons you've learned, or stuff like that?
I mean, to be honest, like a good example, this was always a dream of mine, to come on a podcast and be viewed as somebody with power, because now that's the thing, that when people look at me now, it's like I have a responsibility of informing the public on how.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But my last piece, that's kind of, I was that kid out of high school. Like this podcast, I'm assuming, is targeting out of high school, right? So when
20-somethings, that transition period.
That's what I mean. When you're lost and you're young and you're confused in life, that's kind of what happened to me. I was lost, confused, and young, and I was bridging from electrical to real estate and all this stuff. But that was it. I just chased my passion and chased my dream in life and whatever. And for me, I always loved real estate. I always loved picking up the magazines when you went for breakfast and stuff, and I'd flip through it, and marketing and whatever. So for me, I believed in myself, and I believed in what I wanted to do. And you have all these background noise and people saying, oh, it's too competitive and it's not going to work out, blah 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 blah. But for me, if you just believe in something and you just go for it, it'll just play out, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right?
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna roll the red carpet for you now, bro. Where can people find you? Where can they connect? Where can they get a hold of you? I know you've said it a couple times, but
I mean, for me, the main thing would be my Instagram at Cody Piche. I'm also that's pretty much the main platform. I got Facebook and stuff too. But for business stuff, if you're actually looking for listings and stuff, the Kula team would be the main thing where all the marketing is for actual properties and stuff. But yeah, so at Cody Piche on Instagram would be the big one. I know YouTube is going to be coming soon. That's probably my plan for next year.
Nice.
I want to start to film more daily vlogs, content, because I agree with you, to be honest. I think YouTube is the future. But as of now, I would say the main connection would be on my Instagram. So at Cody Piche.
Nice. Well, dude, I really I had a good time learning from you.
Me too.
That was really cool. Thank you very much for giving me your time today. Busy schedule, I know, so I'm really grateful, and thank you very much for chatting with me today.
Buddy. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
On. All right.
Cool.
Sick, dude. That's a wrap.